Oh, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin Cash. Shout out to the Dragon Riders. Shout out to the House of the Dragon. What's going on? Yeah, guys. We are at $424 right now. For me, it is May 12th. Very fast approaching May 13th. It's almost midnight where I'm at, is what I'm trying to say. This one comes to us at the request tonight of C-Star Chak, or C-Star Chak. I don't know how to pronounce it, but this one's for you with a kind of specific request in regards to another YouTuber's video. Shout out to Senior Scientist on that note. You were essentially asking what my thoughts were on his video, and that's kind of a delicate place in my opinion, because for one, even if I do have disagreements with other people's TA, it's not on me or really on anybody to pick apart anybody else's TA. He could be right, I could be right. We could both be wrong. We could, by some weird way, both be right at the end of it. But your question specifically was saying that he doesn't believe that we're going to go higher than 2,000 by the end of this cycle. And then also, whenever you're asking what my thoughts were according to his video, which came out I think two days ago, for anybody that hasn't seen it, shout out one more time to Senior Scientist. I hit the like button. Did you guys? You better hit the like button if you watch the video, and hit the like button on this video too. But he was saying that we're moving up from here, that we're not going to move lower, and that much I do disagree with. And as far as like going over why I disagree with it, I'm not going to reference his video. I'm going to reference my TA in that kind of aspect, because again, I'm not here to pick apart other people's TAs. His TA could be 100% on point, and it can still be wrong. My TA can be you can have proper TA and still be wrong. It's all about probabilities at the end of the day. So it's not, as far as what he's going over, I watched it. I mean, it makes sense to me. I think there are some parts that I disagree with, especially with the fact that, I do believe that we are going to go lower from here. But we'll kind of go over that right now. So hit that like button, you guys. Buckle up. Let's get into that right now. Looking at the daily chart here, rejecting the 50 area a couple times. Daily RSI definitely looks pretty damn bearish in my opinion. Looking at this relative low here to that relative high, we had a clear breakthrough the 618 on the first attempt. And what have we done since? We have rejected the 618 area, got below it on the first attempt, rejecting it, and now we're proceeding to move lower. These are the signals that are very common in respects to the fib whenever we see extensions come into play. Okay, and these are the extensions, right? From here, 0 to 1, right? So if I draw it from down here, I'm drawing it from down here all the way up. If it retraces 100%, that's where the 1 is. If it retraces 50%, that's where the 5 is. If we go past the 1, you're now extending. You're not retracing 100%. You can't you can retrace 121%, but at that point, you're really just extending 2.72% off of your 100 level, if that makes any sense. Anyways, how we're reacting with the 618 area, the golden ratio area, to me says we are likely. It's not even a possibility at this point. It's a probability in my head. Like I would say to a degree of 70% or more, we are likely going to this area between 376 and 350. And my thoughts are we're not going to hit this price, but we are going to go through this price. I like this nice 365 area as a potential bottom, but we don't have to hit any of these lines specifically. We could bottom right between them, We could bottom right above the 1272. It could happen, but I am thinking we will go below this line. I don't think we'll actually go anywhere near 350. 360 is pretty close to 350, but I don't think we're going to go below 365. I am looking for this area, and if we do, so what? Whatever. We could go lower than 350, and everything would still be fine. But nonetheless, I do think we're going down. Simply based off the fibs, the way we're interacting with the fibs, the way our volume looks, the way the price looks, and just the way the RSI looks as well. Just to put that all into context, not just on the 4 hour, but the daily as well. Let's see. Looking at the weekly RSI looks so good, man. I love the weekly RSI. The thing about the weekly though is it takes weeks to configure, right? So we could go low this week, and then by the end of the week come back up and then close here. Like all this kind of stuff could happen. We could go below here, and we're still like macro higher lows. Like we're still fine. Even if we went all the way down to the 40 and we bounce off the 40, that's an insanely bullish maneuver to pull in itself. So let alone bouncing off of this area, which we could do over the coming weeks. So weekly RSI looks really good, but that takes weeks and months to kind of configure. So the day-to-day stuff, even though the weekly looks good, the day-to-day to me being bearish does kind of demand more in the more immediate price term, immediate price action. Let's see. There was something. I want to go over the ribbons. Maybe we'll do Heikin Ashi first. Heikin Ashi. Heikin Ashi, as some people like to call it. Yeah, we're in an established downtrend. That's okay. You know, for argument's sake, I suppose, last bull cycle, you know, we had 2 red weeks in a row, 2 there, 1, 2, 3, 4 there, 5, I guess, technically. But we found our low on the 3rd one. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but we found our low on the 4th one. And then bear markets when we had these extended phases. Oh, here to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But on the 2nd or the 4th one, or the 2nd or 5th ones when we found our low. Here we are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 now. So we are coming to the end of this. It's at the point where, like, literally, based off the last cycle, we would have one more week at the largest potential to have another red week in the Heikin Ashi, and statistically speaking, to go lower than the low that's already been set in after 5 weeks. It's just not something we've seen before. But just because it's not something we've seen before on a chart that's pretty young in itself doesn't really mean anything. You know, in this case, 1, 2, 3, I don't know, 3 weeks later, I do think that we're moving lower. I definitely do think that we're moving lower. But I think all I'm trying to say with this part of the Heikin Ashi, going over this, not going over these counts because this was in the bearish time, the crab market time. I'm going over the bullish configurations that we've seen. The bullish phases that we've seen with the bearish configurations, I should say. The reason I'm going over this is because I think that this week, probably this week, if not next week, we are going to find our low. I think is the main point of what I'm trying to say here. By the sheer, just like the sheer measurement of time, we haven't seen anything longer. And again, this is a very new chart. We only have really like one full cycle to go off of from the last cycle. We have the end of the 2017 cycle here. And I guess we did have 7 red weeks in a row there. But that's the only time. Other than that, we've had 6 or less, and predominantly it's been like 4 to 5 of these red Heikin Ashi weeks in a row, of which we're on our 5th now. So just, again, even if we were to go to 7 weeks of red Heikin Ashi, you can have a red week that follows, even 2 red weeks that follow, and still you found your low like here, you know what I mean? So just because you have more red weeks doesn't mean you're necessarily going lower. But it does mean that we're likely near our low, is what I'm trying to say. If this wasn't our low, and I don't think that it was, if this is or this isn't our low, whatever, we're very near to it one way or another. That's all I'm trying to say. Not just in price format, but in time format as well. The MA exponential ribbon here. I don't know. It does this, man. It's not the MA exponential. It's the exponential MA. It's the exponential moving average. The ribbon is exponential. Yes, it is an exponential ribbon, but that's because it's a ribbon comprised of exponential EMAs right there. It's an EMA. So why it says EMA there? Why are you throwing me off by saying MA? I don't know. Maybe that's just me, man. It's always gotten me. But here we go. On a daily basis, we have just had a fresh cross, of which we've come up to test and proven to hold true. We've rejected this area. Absolutely, I believe we've got lower to go. I do. That doesn't mean, just because we've got the fresh rejection doesn't mean that we're in turmoil for the next year, the next coming months. This is on a daily chart. We could find our low tomorrow, today, whatever, and then just kind of methodically work our way back up. But I don't think this is a good thing. I personally don't think this is a good thing. We can go back in time and see where we kind of had a fresh cross here, brought us down a lot. That was the lowest we went. You know, we didn't go lower than that here, but we did go back up, came back down. You know, we had a pretty solid boring phase, a little bit of excitement, a little bit of despair along the way after this. You know, just showing that The cross happened rather immediately, as did the dump, and then we didn't go lower than that, but we did work our way up. It took us a while to even get that cross back up there, right? We had to work for it. Cross here, you know, tested up into it here and couldn't get to it, inevitably went lower. This here was a false cross, but ultimately maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Sometimes when you're moving sideways, you disrespect the ribbon. It's not always 100%, right? Let's see. Maybe we should go to the last bull cycle. I don't know, still something like this, right? You get your cross, and you came up to test it and rejected it, but you didn't really go lower, like you did technically, but just a little bit lower. And you got your main drop right as the cross happened, right? So even though you didn't really move that much lower or lower at all, really, like really you didn't really move lower at all, it still took time for you to get in a bullish position, right? This low came in September. You didn't really like break out of this range until October, which was like a whole month after the cross happened. I don't think this is what's going to happen, but this actually reminds me a lot. This exact moment right here reminds me a lot of what, like, if we look at this, right? It's a pretty similar setup. It's not quite the same, but it is pretty similar actually. Again, that's in reference to this part right here. You know, high above the ribbon there, came down. I don't think we're going to get that. That's the COVID crash. I really don't think that's going to happen, but just an illustration of what this kind of this was a rejection of the crossing happening, right? Like the crossing was happening. I guess it was an acceptance of the bearish cross happening there. Yeah, I don't know. That's probably the best example of actually like what we're experiencing now. I just don't think we're going to get that same aftermath, but all that to say, man, daily cross, bearish, rejecting it, bearish. 4 hour looks pretty damn bearish. The weekly, as we could imagine, looks fine, looks beautiful. Great to see, lovely to see, but we can go lower into it, right? Even in the peak of the bull market, we've gone into the ribbon before. Yeah. Time will tell, guys. I'm just talking at this point. I got nothing else to say. I feel like there was one more indicator that I wanted to go through. You know, there's one that I don't normally pull up, but I'm going to pull it up now, is the MACD. I do want to pull up I don't know why this keeps happening, and that's okay. MACD. Moving average convergence divergence. Yeah, we got a fresh cross on the weekly there. Bearish, right? But the oscillators look bullish, man. But you could come down a little bit. That's okay. Yeah, the daily doesn't look too exciting at all. Actually looks pretty bearish. Yep. Below the zero on your oscillators, that's not normally a good thing. It's pretty fresh below the zero too. The 4 hour actually doesn't look as bad on the MACD. There's actually some hope, but you would need to get continuation to the upside now. You need to hold. You would not want to flip this red, which it looks like you're actually about to do. I think today's going to be red for BCH. This week, you guys, might be the week that we bottom out. We're at 424 now. That 365, 380 area, that's looking really ripe for a low in my opinion, but time will tell. I don't know. I got nothing else to say. I suppose I can reference the daily 123 moving average as well, you know. This whole cycle, because the cycle arguably like started back here, right? We've found our low here, crab market, bull cycle started with this move up. Since this move up is what I could more determinately say, since this determinately, what was accurately more, I don't know what word I'm looking for. With this move up, ever since then, okay, we've only gone a little bit below the screen line. That doesn't mean we can't go a lot below it. We can, who cares? But just basing off of what we've seen, the characteristics of this cycle so far, I would expect a move that's just below the screen line. would make sense. And if 365 to 380 is that target area, I mean 365, it's a little bit below the green line. It's a little bit more than a little bit, but that would kind of be the bottom area that I'd expect. Let alone just again kind of showing the idea that going lower is probably not going to happen. It could happen, you know, just because we've wicked below it all these times doesn't mean we can't go well below the 123, but I would assume that this little area here between about, this says 393, you know, I don't think we bottom at 393. I bet we would go to 380 at least, probably 370, 360, somewhere in there, but yeah, at this rate, guys, I'm just rambling. So if you like the video, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more. I got nothing else to add on other than that. And yeah. 4-hour RSI, or the 4-hour MACD is the most bullish looking MACD, but it is set up for some sadness. This RSI does not look good. The price action doesn't look good. So we'll see. Time will tell. But I do think today will merit lower prices. Lower. Yep. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.